So what I really am looking for in my leadership is to have really energized, excited distributors, because distributors telling us that we're doing well, distributors telling us they like our product, when they tell us that they profit from our product, when they tell us that they want to buy more of our product, when they're telling us, hey, you're our best supplier, all of that really fires me up. The next best thing is working with really fired up associates. So I'm an extrovert, I draw my energy from other people, so when I'm working with associates who are really fired up, it really gets me going. And so this is what made 2017 so difficult, that not only were our customers not fired up, but really our associates weren't either, or we certainly struggled. On a personal level, I really struggled in 2017, starting with the stroke. My doctor told me, you're going to probably have pretty difficult problems with anxiety, but just as it comes, it's going to go. And by your first anniversary of the stroke, July 9th, 2018, it's probably all going to be gone. And I would say really largely it's gone now, and actually I feel 10 years younger. So under the heading of wanting to have excited distributors, the content that we present at our distributor meetings is crucially important to me. So we really have to get distributors fired up about their personal life, their business life, their relationship with us. So I'm really fussy about presentations and what we talk to them about. And as part of trying to make the Aruba sales event more successful, I developed the following presentation. And in a perfect world, I would like to give you one of these a month. So that's what I'm going to try to work on this year. I probably won't succeed, but I'll do more than zero. So today I have two topics I want to talk to you about, both under the heading of managing better. When I get discouraged about my work, which is often, if I read a business book or attend a business seminar, I find optimism coming back for me because I'm gaining new ideas about how to be successful or how to overcome a problem. And so it's with that that I want you to think about what I'm saying today. And what I'm saying today is really geared for you as a leader, but it's also geared for you as an employee, and it's also geared for you as a parent and as a spouse. So it's really the complete person. So with that, I'll start. And what I'm going to talk about is managing yourself, and which I have found to be really quite a project in my case. And also, the decision to fire somebody. So I really don't mind firing people. And I don't mean to sound callous about that. Once I'm really crystal clear that someone doesn't belong on our team, actually having the meeting with them and talking about it, I can actually manage that. I haven't had tons of practice, but what I've really struggled with over the years is looking at a person's performance and deciding conclusively that it's bad enough that they don't belong on the team anymore. And sometimes, you know, in the case of Dave Connell, Joe Heller, you know, I had to work with them 5, 6, 7 years to sort of figure it out and get clarity, and it's really difficult. And so I want to talk to you about how I think about it. And it might help you think about it, because ultimately building a high-performing team is crucial to our success. So on managing yourself, there's sort of two guardrails. One is when things are going really, really well. And my conclusion is when things are really going well here and you say, gosh, look at me, you're really not as talented as you think you are. And when things are going really well, you should celebrate, you should pat yourself on the back. But honestly, there's another thing that you should be thinking about as well. And when things are falling apart, you're not as incompetent as you think you are. So the answer, and someone far smarter than me said this, and I've been thinking about it a lot, but last year one of the hardest things I was dealing with was when our business was really going off the tracks, I had this overwhelming sense of my own incompetence. And very concerning. So when things are going a lot better, and instead of saying, oh, it's attributable to me and things are really great, you might think about setting your sights higher. Where can we be performing better? You know, hey, I'm a starter now on JV. That's a good thing. Why are you not going out for varsity or playing on varsity? But far more important is when things are falling apart and you're not as incompetent as you think you are, none of you would be in the position that you're in today if you weren't really competent. So you just have to accept that as fact. Think about it, it is fact. Any of you, if you were looking for a job, really wouldn't have that much trouble finding a job. Some of you have probably been already offered jobs. So you're not nearly as incompetent as you think you are when things are going poorly. And logically, if that's true, if you simply persevere and keep trying, your competence will prevail and your results will improve. So a lot of my thinking in November and December, when things were really bad business-wise, I thought, geez, you know, we've had a 20-year run here of success. We're not idiots. Maybe all we need to do is really persevere, keep coming to work, maybe work some more hours, and your competence will prove itself out. And I just want you to remember this. When you get really discouraged about your results, don't forget this. So imagine that you get to come to work and you get one tool, and only one for management. And management, by management means getting what you want as a manager. So you're here as part of management. What are you trying to do? You're trying to get what you want as a manager. What your boss wants, what customers want, what the strategic plan is asking for. So if you had only one single tool to use for management, what might it be? Is it bonuses? Is it incentives? If I could just set the bonuses just the way I want for everybody in my group, I would get exactly what I want as a manager. Is it clear expectations? Is it some management by objectives thing, and I'm going to drill into halogen till the cows come home and I'm going to make objectives crystal clear? Am I going to intimidate? We've had people that have tried that before. It works for a while. Am I going to just lead by example? Am I going to do diligent performance appraisal? What is my single most effective tool? I put my holster on the way to work, and I get to put one gun in the holster for management. What is that gun? So what if the only thing that you were allowed to do to get what you want as a manager is to use gratitude? So you might come to work and you might not have anything to say to anybody because you didn't see any of what you wanted, right? But what if you see what you want? Associate comes to a meeting on time, an associate volunteers to take the minutes at the meeting, an associate brings you an assignment early, an associate works safely in the shop, an associate gives you an improvement idea. You just express gratitude. You say, you know what, I really appreciate that. Or you know what, that's an impressive idea. It doesn't take much. And gratitude is almost always sincere because you don't walk around saying these things to everybody. You really actually, even though flattery will get you everywhere, none of you are gratuitous with your gratitude, if you think about it. So what if the only tool that you could use in your work to get what you want is just to thank people for what you see that's right? So in the case of a distributor, she has two installers that come back after the end of a week. They're tired on a Friday afternoon, they're unloading the truck, they're getting ready for Monday, but both of the guys are not hurt on the truck. And so you say, look, I'm really appreciative that you worked safely all week. So it doesn't take much. But instead of criticizing or noticing what's wrong, what if your only management tool is just to go around and notice what's right? So in my work, I settle endless amounts of disputes between us and customers, between us and suppliers at times, between us and distributors more often, and oftentimes between associates and each other, you know. And so I want to help you. This is something I've been thinking about for about 10 or 12 years. There is one thing at the core of not most, but every single interpersonal dispute. So you have a dispute with your neighbor, it's about one thing. You have a dispute with your spouse, it's about, at the core of it is one thing. So not most of the time, all of the time. So I get involved in a dispute resolution with my kids, with my wife, with my coworkers. It's always a respect issue, one way or the other. So I was giving the example today of your 16-year-old kid comes up to you on Friday night and says, hey Dad, I want to borrow the car. I'm going to go to a game with some friends. And you look at them and you say, no way. And what the kid doesn't really see is that you shared your mother's car as a teenager, and then you didn't have a car when you were in school, and then after school you bought a used car, and after that a slightly better used car, and after that you worked your way up to the car you have now, and your son or daughter walks in, and because you're their parent, they assume that your property is fundamentally their property and that they have claim to it. And so they really disrespect the journey that you've been on to get to the car that you have, and they ask and are astounded that you won't let them use their car. And at the same time, you're being disrespectful of them, because really you're assuming the worst when they say they want to borrow your car. What are you going to do, go out drinking with your buddies? When the thing's ever going to come back? If your kid had come to you on Wednesday and said, you know, I'd like to borrow the car Friday night. I want to go to a game with friends, these friends. We're going to go to the game, we're going to come back. Maybe those guys will spend the night at the house when we get back, and I'll return the car full. Then you'd have a completely different attitude, because A, they're respecting your schedule. They're saying, Dad, you might be already planning to use the car Friday night, right? And I'm going to respect your property by planning ahead. I'm going to respect you by telling you where I'm going. And I'm going to respect your property by bringing the car back full. So already you guys are on a much better playing field. If you think about, there's things that I can do or say or whatever with my wife where she might not talk to me for a day. My wife is pretty good about it, and she has a thick skin. But you know, you come home at 7:30 and she's sitting in the TV room not really saying anything, and she had gone to the store that afternoon. She had made a really nice dinner. She had wanted to celebrate you know, our partnership by making a nice dinner for me, honoring me, and I didn't have the respect to call and say I needed to work a little bit late or I needed to go to a meeting, so I just showed up at 7:30. There's no dinner on the table, so I'm mad, and I go to talk to her. She's not talking to me. I don't know why she's not talking to me, and the whole thing is a respect issue. I didn't have the respect to make an 8-second phone call to her and say, hey, do you mind if I'm a little bit late tonight? She would have said, yeah, that's no problem. I'll have dinner ready when you get here. It's so easy. But when you think about any of the disputes in your life, they really boil down to respect issues. And I'm telling you, I think it's 100% of the time. You just have to get to it. Now, this doesn't mean you're going to be able to fix the respect issue. It just means that you'll know what it is, and you'll have a much better chance in finding the solution. Stress has been a really big thing for me, especially in the last year. And, you know, so geez, you'd say, boy, it would sure be nice to know what's the core of all that. Is it your spouse? In my case, no. Is it money? Is it your boss? In your case, it might be your boss. Is it your kids? Is it their kids? Is it your parents? What is the source of your stress? And it's really the same thing every time. Stress comes from expectations. As part of me working through my stress and anxiety issues in the last 6 months, I spent a lot of time on YouTube with podcasts, reading books, talking to therapists, and trying to get on top of this. And really what I was fighting the entire time, and what was the source of stress for me, was expectations. Where would the company be by when? Where would my personal savings or retirement be by when? It's all a series of my expectations. Yes, you have customers that cause stress, and their stress, really their expectations causes your stress. But the worst of all expectations are really your own. So if you look at the majority of your stress and the most tightly wound people, they're the people that set the highest standards for themselves. They set impossible goals. They never stop to say, you know, hey, what I did was all right. A lot of it for me last year was sort of learning to accept that we just took on too much as a company at one time. And lo and behold, we focused, and then we've just turned in a record first quarter. So it's sort of like you have to be able to forgive yourself, and you look at your stress, and I'm here to tell you, I think overwhelmingly it ties to expectations, and the worst ones are yours. So powerful stress relievers: rest, vacation, exercise, success, prayer, meditation, sex. My favorite, all of them at once. But so, you know, what's a powerful stress reliever? And so for me, it's really been a lot about forgiveness. And if you go around forgiving people, it's really insulting because it implies that someone else did something wrong. So when you're upset about something with another person, it's rare that they did something wrong. It's just that you're pissed about what they did. It doesn't mean that to them what they did was wrong. It just means that you're pissed about it. And so a lot of times what will happen to me, like with my direct reports, bless their hearts, is they might do something that pisses me off and I don't address it, I don't bring it to the fore, and then I sort of bring resentment to the relationship, and what I need to do is sort of stop, forgive them for this, let it go in my mind, and move forward in a much more productive way. And so you think about your kids, you think about your spouse, you think about yourself, and where do you need to forgive? It's powerful. So, burnout. Is it too much work? Is it you're tired of your job? Is it too much pressure? Is it customer expectations? I don't think burnout's caused by any of that. I think burnout's caused by a sense of having to do someone else's job. Overwhelmingly. Overwhelmingly. So I think if I asked each of you individually, how much do you really like your job, or how much do you like your job at all, I think the majority of you would say, you know what, I like 90% really like my job. But there's parts of my job that are exhausting, and the part of it that I really don't like is the part where I feel like I'm having to do someone else's job. So I love my job, I have a lot of energy for my job, but I'm sick of doing their job. And so I can't fix your issue by telling you this, but again, like with respect, I can tell you where to look for the answer. And so people don't burn out from their own job. And you might talk to your boss, you might talk to a coworker, you might get a much better idea from this slide about how to fix your challenge if you know this. When I really get frustrated in my job and I really feel burned out on my job, it's usually because I'm frustrated with the performance of one of the executives and I feel like I'm having to do their job, and they're pretty talented people, and if I feel like I have to do their job, I know I can't do their job, then I just feel trapped and stuck. Right? So think about this. I think you should write a monthly report. I've told you this before. I've now just finished, I think it's 252 of them. So from the time I became president, I have to prepare a monthly report for the board. So I have to do this every month, and the content of mine is going to be slightly different than what I recommend for you. Take a sentence or two at most. This report is short, and the report's going to take you 10 minutes, so don't tell me you don't have the time to do it. So list your achievements and victories. Where did you win this month? Where did you really have a good win? Because all of you had them. Where were you stressed out? What stressed you out? Where did you waste time? None of us are limited by time in our lives. We're limited by energy. And we waste time like fiends. I waste so much time. And what's worse, then I waste your time with stuff that I asked for. So where are you wasting time? And it's incredible to meet hyper-efficient people and to really see just how much they're able to get done and how much they say no to. There used to be a time when Shirley would come to me and say, Andrew, this guy's now called 3 times. When are you calling him back? He's really getting testy on the phone. I said, Shirley, unless they're a customer, or unless they have something really specific about our goals, I'm never calling him back. And he's just going to have to accept that. So someone says to me, hey, we want you to be on the board of the American Red Cross. Well, like, in terms of being a good husband, a good father, saving for retirement, trying to run a great company, the Red Cross has nothing to do with that. So no, I won't serve on the board of the Red Cross. Maybe when I'm retired and I have more time and my goals change, I'll do it. But I can't do everything that other people want. So you come to work, what sets your agenda? The answer is not you. Your inbox sets your agenda. You come to work, you open your inbox, and you start clicking through, okay, this, and this is junk. This I have to do something about. Then you go to the bathroom, then you come back and you say, look what else has come in. And you spend your entire day being managed by your inbox, which means you are just someone else's whipping boy. So, you know, I think you waste an absolute mountain of time, and I think there's a lot that you can do about it. You can get rid of all the mail that you don't read and end subscriptions. You can ask to be deleted from various email groups. You can be very focused about your goals. Think about it. You waste a mountain of time. I know I do, and I really try to be conscious of it. What's your vision for the organization? That's more of a president level comment, which was the audience for this presentation, but what's your vision for your role? Like, crystal clear, what's your vision for your role at the company? What do you really want it to be? And what actually is standing in the way of it? Not, I can't do it for this and that, but what's really standing in the way of it? Someone says to me, you know what, I really want to quit smoking. Then I say, well, then reach into your pocket, grab the pack of cigarettes, ball it up, throw it away, and don't buy another one. And then don't mooch from people, right? But then the person says, well, but it's almost Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's a stressful time for me. And then after that, it's Christmas. I got guests coming. I got gifts. I got to decorate. I got to buy all the food. I got to be ready. I got to, I have so much to do. I'm going to quit smoking after Christmas. Well, the fact is you can make yourself a non-smoker today, right? So the only one standing in front of you and your goal is just your own rationalizations. So force yourself to choose priorities. So I used to do a bunch of different things. I used to serve on the board of nonprofits. Now I won't do any. I think volunteer work has a role. I think the only real mission for a human life is to serve other people. But my role is here and building the company and helping our associates and really trying to help you. So choose your priorities carefully. Some people say, I'm so busy, I don't have the time for this. Even if you only did this in the time that you sat on the toilet, this doesn't need to take more than 10 minutes, 5 minutes. So it's not a time-consuming thing. The whole thing can be a half a page. What sapped your energy? You're nothing more than a battery. I'm here trying to manage my energy and bring as much of it to the world as I can. What's sapping your energy, and how can you deal with that? When you come up with a monthly report, share it or don't. You can show it to your spouse, you can show it to your boss, you can keep it. It would make very interesting reading in future years as you look back on it. I look back on my letters to directors, and they're actually a fascinating history of the company. So you're not writing it to share it, you're writing it to organize yourself. So I think those are some ideas on managing yourself, and I think the next hardest task is deciding to move someone off the team. And it's a really important thing. And I'm telling this so you think about it as an employee, but I'm telling you this so you think about it as a manager also. And I'm not talking about the people who fire themselves. They're easy. They quit showing up at work, they steal, they are really offensive to work with. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people that are really the tough judgment calls. So here's 10 tests for you. Number 1, does the person positively surprise me? Hey, this issue came up. I called a meeting for it. The meeting got to the bottom of the issue. Here's the minutes. This seems to be taken care of. There's really nothing you have to do about this. I just wanted you to know about it. Like, that's tremendous. Does the person manage themselves, or do they require my management? So not to be self-centered, but I have a lot to manage, and so someone comes to me with their problems, and it's sort of, I'm happy to talk about it to a point, but what I really want to see is someone is managing themselves. Hey, this person continues to not perform for me. What would you like me to do about that? How many of you on your first day of work showed up and your boss said, oh my goodness, thank God you're here. I cannot wait to manage you, right? What they said or what they thought was, I cannot wait to leverage your skills and strengths towards the goals of this business. That's what I was thinking. But what I got was, geez, I'm really going to have to manage you. So it's a really important thing. A huge one is, what is Bill Belichick without Brady, as much as I hate the Patriots? You can say it vice versa, but Belichick has to have Brady. Brady is a whiz, right? And Belichick will still be a winner, but what is your potential without A players working for you? I think that all of you, including me, have a poor understanding of your potential, and you actually sell yourselves short. I know I have been victim of that, and I have some really glaring examples of where I've done that in my life. But your potential being reached is going to have to do a lot with having super talented people working for you, people that are so talented and so on it that they actually make you feel a little bit insecure in your management role. If you feel a little bit insecure as a manager based on the talent level of the people working for you, then you really have the right kind of people working for you. But you look at someone who's a laggard, who's not really like pushing the ball forward, you say, my potential will never be reached here. Brady says, you know, I just don't feel like practicing today. You know, I'm going to stay home and eat health food with Giselle or whatever her name is. So think about whether your potential will be reached by the quality of the associates working for you. Here's another one. In your department, if you fired everyone that worked in your entire department, right? Some of these thoughts are a little bit radical, but this is how I think about things. And I hired everybody back in the order of their impact on the company. Would the person that I'm thinking about, would they be hired back in the last quartile? Just think about that. So your gut, I'd like to give you a whole presentation on your gut. Your gut is terribly unreliable for the first 3 or 4 days that you meet somebody. So I don't really care what your first impression is of a person that you meet. That's why we don't let you hire people by yourself. That's why we use panel interviews, because your gut's really unreliable. Studied cognition a lot in college, and there's massive error in human decision making, especially around first impressions. If this wasn't true, why would people buy lottery tickets, right? Statistically, it's a terrible, terrible investment, right? Why would anybody smoke? Anyway, so I really don't trust the first impressions that I gather from people, and I don't trust yours. But if you have worked with a person for 3 or 4 months, I think you have 95% accuracy of whether the person is a keeper. So all you got to do is work with someone 3 or 4 months, and then I'm really willing to bet that your gut impression of that associate as a keeper or not a keeper is absolutely correct. But the problem is, after 90 days, you decide the person's not a keeper, and then your brain intervenes and says, let me tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't let this person go. You didn't make their expectations clear. They haven't been here long enough. You didn't train them very well, right? We're having a tough quarter. This is a tough quarter to start people in. You know, that department's really under pressure. They just got a new computer system. You got to give this person more time to think about their role. So your gut is absolutely done after 90 to 120 days, and then your brain just plays the spin on all the logic why you shouldn't follow your gut. So if you're thinking about an associate and you're concerned about their performance, I just want you to really listen to your gut. And not after 3 days, but after 3 or 4 months, I think your gut is going to be very clear about a person's role within the company. If you're successful here, you really don't need to tell me. And you don't need to explain your success to me, because all of your peers will have told me. So really, we have associates that are just really tremendous at kind of doing what's needed to tee other people up for success. And to me, it's so powerful, it's so selfless, and it's so powerful, and it's so effective. Someone who really thought ahead, someone who helps others, you know, like not blindsiding someone in a meeting. But as you think about an associate that you're concerned about, how do you enable the success of others? Or how do you enable the success of others? There's a big meeting coming up where you're going to justify or talk about some big investment, and you're thinking about a couple things that you know that the executive team or somebody's going to ask. So you go to the proposer and say, you know, I was just thinking about this. You should make sure that you cover the following topics, because I've been in front of them before and this is what they're likely to ask. So I talked about this a lot in my book, but you know, what kind of problems do you get stuck on? I get associates that come to me and they say, you know, I'd really like to be paid more. I really think that I should be promoted. And I say, you know, you've got like 8 attendance points. So you were stumped by the vexing problem of getting to work. So you went out to start your car, it wouldn't start, and you said, wow, that is overwhelming. So I don't have any friends or family that I can get a ride from. I've never heard of Uber or Lyft. I think most supervisors in the shop would probably come get you if you only called them and told them of your problem. So, you know, what size problem can you solve? And the bigger the problem that you can solve, the bigger the problem you're going to get, and with that comes rank and compensation. So, you know, the final one, and this is an old one, I had to come up with 10, but, you know, your competitor has hired the person in question. Do you really care? Do you really care at the end of the day? So, two more. One is the respect continuum, and the other one's the 10 plus 10. I've covered the respect continuum with you before. It's your self-directed treatment of others. And I want you to really think about this right now. Discrimination, acknowledgement, empathy, praise, right, moving up the continuum, helps to implement ideas. Right now, this one is very hot on my mind. We really, really want to engage our associates by listening to their ideas. Nothing disempowers me more than having an idea. I'm the one who does the work every day. I have an idea, and you will not help me implement it. It just makes me feel like dirt. So a long time ago, I was paid $4.17 an hour, and I stacked boxes of Miss Pac-Man blankets for Walmart at the Charles D. Owen Blanket Manufacturing Company in Swannanoa, North Carolina. And I worked with two guys named Skeeter and Kojak. And so I was at the end of the production line, and I was generally stacking 2,000 to 2,100 boxes a day on pallets. Skeeter and Kojak would come with a heister, get the pallets of boxes, and they'd put them at the appropriate place in the warehouse, and then they'd get loaded onto trucks at some later point. And what would happen a lot is that I would come back from a break or using the bathroom, whatever, boxes would be piled up at the end of the production line. I'd have to really hustle to stack them all up. And then Skeeter and Kojak would be off doing something, and then there was no more pallets on which to stack the boxes, and I just have a colossal mess, and it stressed me out. And so I said, you know, if you show me how to drive the heister, I will move all these out of the way, move new pallets into the way. You guys can keep doing what you're doing, and I won't have the line back up. And they just said, no way. No way are we doing that. Just do the best you can. And if it's a big stacked up mess, then it's a big mess. And that's just the way it is here. It's like, all right, I am just checking out then. Like, you're obviously not interested in doing this better, so I'm not going to share my ideas. So on the respect continuum, obviously harming someone is out to the left. Making conclusions about someone without knowing anything about them is pretty darn bad as discrimination. Acknowledgement, acknowledging that another associate is there, empathizing with them if they need your help or have a problem, praising them, right? Using gratitude to congratulate what you see that you like, moving up the continuum, helping to implement ideas, that's getting warmer. Even better is you're going to show enough respect for someone that you're going to demonstrate a willingness to train them, even if you just do it privately. Some of you are incredible with new associates, helping them understand the product, the system, whatever. That is such a powerful demonstration of respect. And then the final one is, do you work to expand someone's sense of self and capability? And in a small little vignette, that's what I'm trying to do for you today. But do you mentor people? Do you give them a book to read about a subject that might help their development? Do you talk to them about where they're stuck or stressed or frustrated? So, you know, when you're thinking about an associate, where do you think they come out on this continuum? And I guarantee the people that you're struggling with are much more to the left. It just helps you get a clearer look at your coworkers. So finally, I've shared this before, the 10 plus 10 rule, so I'll go through it fast. The game here is what's the maximum score that you get on a scale to 20, all right? And there's 10 for driving results and 10 for driving culture. So on driving results, you have an associate that misses the goal and then says it was a stupid goal, right? So you get a 0. I was never engaged in this goal. 2, you miss the goal and you stick with the same approach. I'm just going to keep trying the same thing even though it didn't work. You missed the goal, but you had a great excuse, right? Well, I was out sick for a couple days or whatever. You miss the goal, but you develop a new plan and you keep trying with a new plan to reach the goal. 8, you consistently hit your numbers. 10, you exceed goal. So if you consistently exceed goal or close, then you're a 10 on this part of the 10 plus 10. In terms of driving culture, you make me want to quit. So at the opposite end of the culture continuum is, you make me want to quit. And I have worked with people like this, and we've dealt with some of them, but there are some people that like this. 2, a politicker. You talk to this person about that, and this person about that, and you work people against each other. Really a bad thing. 4, you come back from vacation and 2 of your associates are kind of going at it. They've got their cat claws out, going at each other, or they're not talking to each other, or they refuse to work together. So you say, oh my goodness, okay, you guys need adult supervision. Let's sit down and talk about this. What happened? It's very frustrating. 6, you're neutral. You're a passenger. You don't really cause any problems, but you're not really driving the culture that we want. 8, really solid team player. Really engaged, happy to have initiative, take on an issue. And 10, really exemplifies the culture that we want. So at the simplest level, you're trying to make a decision about an associate and where they really stack up in your mind. What's their 10 plus 10 score, right? So then you might say, they have to be at least a 12. At least a 12 to be a keeper, right? To be promotable, you really need to be a 16. That's more thinking about yourself. So where do you come out on this? And I would urge you to talk to your boss about this. But I would urge you also to honestly score yourself on this. Where do you come out? So just wanted to share those thoughts. They're things I've been thinking a lot about. How to manage yourself better, and also how to decide if someone is right for our team. And all I'm trying to do is share with you observations that I've made about myself and working with other people. Thanks.